What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the RV rebuild. Today it's going to be a little bit exciting in my opinion, because today we're going to be building the composting toilet for the RV. If you've been following along, you know that there's absolutely nothing there. It used to be a regular RV flushing toilet. So there's the black tank there, and we're actually going to be utilizing the black tank. I'm going to be running the urine diverter straight into the black tank, so I don't have to deal with a small little jug of pee. Whenever it gets filled up, I can just empty it through the hose at the back, along with the gray water tank simultaneously. So and it's also like something like 30 gallons, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it's around there. It's a similar size actually to my freshwater tank. So I also got a couple things done that I didn't record because I had started and I was like, I'm not going to do too much. I just want to tinker here and there, because it is now actually the first week of November here in Ontario, Canada. And as you know, by this time, usually there is sometimes even snow on the ground, but usually in like the single degree digits, getting into those negative degrees. And it's actually like 15 degrees here Celsius right now. So and we're actually going to have a 20-degree weekend, which is crazy, but I'm taking full advantage, and I'm going to show you guys a couple of those things that I got done. It was a lot more than I had originally thought I was going to get done, so I'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get right into building that composting toilet and showing you my designs. Okay, so first things first, you might notice that this line is different now. So this freshwater line, I added in, this used to be the spout for the toilet, so I had to cut that out. And then I added a 90-degree bend here so that it can fit around the frame. So we actually figured out how we're going to do this shower pan. And I also figured out my plumbing situation. So this goes in like that, but this is in the way. I had to attach my kitchen sink to the where normally the shower would go, so I could run all my antifreeze through once I refixed this line, and we were all good, no leaks. So I'm really happy about that. Now that that's sorted out for the most part, the only issue I'm dealing with is, so the lip for the shower pan is going to come over this, and it's going to meet the wall, right? Once there's like the new insulation and board, red guard, and then FRP board, it'll be just slightly thicker than that. So there's enough room for all the wires here and the hose and everything. And then the lip for the shower pan is going to come meet the wall, and that'll be sealed off like how a normal shower or bathtub would be. But I'm also having another 2x3 here, and then the lip on this side is going to come all the way across. So it's going to be relatively wide, like 4 or 5 inches. So I was going to have it there, and then that would cover all of this, and then on this side of the, like on the facing of this 2x3 that will be here, I would just put some red guard and then paint it, whatever. I don't see it getting really ever wet, but, well, not significantly. But it would all be caulked off at the floor and all that stuff anyways. So that was my plan for that. And it would be coming out here, and it would be going up until here, all the way back. So that's all covered. And then the toilet is going to start here, and this will be faced off there. So it'll all be sealed off. But I can't get this hose down low enough. See, it's sitting on top of this. I can't really like figure. I actually had put it under, but then this was raised up too high for this to be flush. So I would have had to raise this up, but then I'm losing shower space, or I'd have to raise this and then deepen the shower pan, and it just seemed like a lot of unnecessary work. So I'm hoping that I made the right choice by leaving it on top, and that I can somehow figure out a way to maneuver this situation. And I'm sure I'll be able to find a solution. Like this can come over, and then that can come over there, but then this is exposed So I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I wanted to try and get a pan made over the winter so I could kind of like get as much of this completed as possible. Obviously I have to run my lines for my solar and all that stuff to the new breaker that'll be there, and it'll all be coming back again around here because it'll all be sitting in there. So I left a little bit of extra space, but there's also 3 wires that are going to be coming out. The thick green, white, and black ones that are here. That was for the generator, so those are coming out. So it'll kind of balance out with the amount of wires that are in play here. But this hose is proving to be a little tricky, but it's sorted out now in terms of actually running the water through it. And yeah, it was working well. I had it draining out there, had it draining here, everywhere. So we're good in terms of winterizing the water system, because it was all disconnected and I was scared that water was going to get stuck in there. There was water. I blew it out with the leaf blower. I just attached it to the end of the hose and I just blew it out. But I wanted to make sure all of it was out, because if I had a cracked system, I wouldn't really know until it's too late, and I wasn't willing to risk that. So I got this sorted out, and then I ended up building my frame for the shower pan, and I sorted out my plumbing system. I got this new, it's so hard to see with this thing in here. I got this made. I cut the steel sheet, and then I had it welded by my buddy, and it's just a 6-inch deep box so that the plumbing can sit in there, and then I can access it if I need to. It'll have this on it, so I can open that up and drain it or unclog it or whatever the case may be, and then it just goes to the tank there. So I figured that out, which is something I was really stuck on for a little while, or well, not stuck on, but like concerned about, because I hadn't put too much thought into it, and I never done anything like plumbing or rebuilding an entire shower in a very awkward space before. So there's that. But as you can see here on the ground, there's a few odd lines, and I was just taking some measurements. This is where the bucket is gonna be, and then I decided that since I can't position the bucket in a way where it's not fully covering the hole, and I want to run my urine diverter, I'm gonna attach this on the inside of the bucket so that the bucket is basically secured into the ground. More likely than not, that's what's going to happen, because this is a bit thicker than the lip on the bottom of the bucket. So the bucket would not really sit firmly on the ground otherwise, unless I got a different bucket, which is also a possibility. If I decide to go that route, I could get a bucket with a thicker lip on the bottom, like maybe an inch. And then if I did that, I could cut out just a little mouse hole, and then slide the line for the urine diverter through that, and then down through this. I'm going to be drilling out a hole in the center of this, putting the line down, and then sealing all of that off, and then that'll be my urine diverter. It'll just run down through there. And then the bucket, if I do it the way with this on the inside, the bucket is fixed in there permanently. I can't lift the bucket out. I have to lift just the bag out, and if that ever ripped, that would really suck. So I'm not 100% sure how that's going to go down in terms of the bucket yet, but I have the frame planned out. This is a little compartment for like toilet paper and stuff, and then there's going to be a compartment in the back for like the peat moss, sawdust, things of that nature. So we're going to get started on that. I've been rambling for 8 minutes now. And yeah, I was just going to use a regular Home Depot bucket, but we'll see. We'll see if I come up with something else. But I just wanted to update you guys on a little bit of this, because I did all of this without telling you. and I feel a little guilty about it, but it's the way she goes. I also had to go rent a PEX tool because I had used the clamp ones. Like, these are the crimp rings, which I ended up having to use secondary, but initially I had used these clamps, and you can see you just pinch that. But it didn't do a very good job. I had finished the job. I turned on the water, the pump, and there was like little points on both of them where it was just spraying out high pressure amounts of antifreeze everywhere. So it smells a lot like antifreeze in here right now. But it's fixed now. So my recommendation to you is, if you're ever going to redo any PEX stuff, make sure you get the cutting tool, because I didn't have that initially. I used my angle grinder, I know. And I think the heat made it expand a little bit too, which is something that probably played into the whole reason why the clamps didn't work. But I bought the cutting tool, because it was only $15, and I rented the crimping tool because it's a $150 tool, brand new at least, and I really didn't want to buy it brand new just to use for 7 minutes. It would be good to have though if I ever had to redo anything, so I'm thinking of buying a used one before I depart, but I have time to decide that. But I have to go return that today actually, so it's not in here, or I would show you, but yeah, so I'm going to try and get as much done as I can before I have to go return that, and then basically by that time I'm out of daylight, so, because it gets dark here now, like 6:30. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so this is all extra, but I had bought, this is 1/2-inch pine. It was a really nice wood, and it was also the very last one. So that is what I'm dealing with. It's a nice finish. It's pretty sanded too, but it was a 4x8, as most typical plies are. So 1/2-inch. It's definitely strong enough to hold me. I may be tall, but I'm not that heavy. So I got all of my cuts made. I had it all written out in my notebook, diagrams, whatever, and the guy just did it all for me. So we've got a bunch of different measurements. They're all numbered, so I'll have to go get my book to remember how to basically reassemble this. So this is going to be like a self-made IKEA project, but they're all made. The only thing is, if this is the piece that I'm thinking of, I forgot to draw it out and take the measurements for it. This is the lid, and I cut it at 18 instead of 16 because I couldn't remember what the measurement was, so I just played it safe and went bigger. So I'll have to reduce that once it's all put together. Maybe I can get away with it being bigger because it's the lid, and you know, it has to sit on the sides or whatever. It can hang off a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But it's not the end of the world. I'm going to put everything else together and make sure that I accounted for the joints, like where the boards meet, that is going to be adding 1/2 inch to everything. So I'm not sure if I did that or not. I can't remember because it was really late when I went and my mind was thinking of a million things. So, and then this is just basically going to be that other 2x3 that was beside the pipe, and then a couple pieces in the base of this thing just to secure things together and make it more sturdy and keep the bucket from moving and things like that. So we're going to get started with that. It's a pretty basic setup with the exception of the compartments. Otherwise it would literally just be a box with like a few varying heights because of certain things in the way. I didn't want to overcomplicate it, but I also wanted some functionality. So there's 2 compartments, but we're going to get this assembled. I don't have any braces for it or anything. I'm thinking of getting some just for the interior corners and stuff like that, so it doesn't, you know, separate when I'm sitting on it after many years of usage or whatever. But yeah, we're gonna get this assembled, and then I'm gonna be painting it the same color as the bathroom, which is like that light blue that you saw. And then I think I'm gonna add some of the cedar board that's gonna be in the shower behind the toilet as like a headboard almost, like, you know, the backrest to the throne, or maybe some tile. So we'll see. I want it to look nice. I was thinking of staining it, but I don't know. I think there's not a lot that's going to be painted inside the bathroom area, the blue. So I want to accentuate that and make it as obvious as possible that there is a blue bathroom. So I think we're just going to do blue. So, and I already have it. I don't have to buy anything else. So there's that as well. So we're going to start piecing this together. I'm going to show you my plans. They're very poorly drawn plans. So be forewarned, but I'll try and talk you through this as much as possible if you want to copy this exact same style. Obviously your measurements will be different, but that's you're going to have to take your own measurements regardless. Even if you were copying my exact ones and it would fit your space, just take your own measurements. It's necessary. You don't want to have to redo that stuff. So we're going to get started. I've been talking your ear off like crazy. It's been like 15 minutes of me just yapping. So let's go. Okay, so here are my dimensions. And this is my general plan. So the back side is 18 inches long. The left side beside the shower is 14 inches long. The face from one end to the very other is 22. But it's reduced to 16 because of the compartment going across. But I'm gonna face the whole thing and then add that to build out the box. And the compartment is like 6 inches by 11 inches. And then there's a box in the back for the shavings and stuff that I had mentioned, and it's 4 inches deep, also 18 inches long, but it has different heights for the board because it's going up and then to meet the wall to cover all the wires and the pipes and stuff. Oh yeah, my breakfast. 3 mini bananas, breakfast of champions. And then, so that's the left side beside the shower. This is the front facing. This is the rear that's against the wall. It's 10 inches high because it's on the wall above all the wires and stuff. And then the rear, the actual like rear wall that's supporting everything is the regular height. And then the pieces, these are the pieces that attach the rear, like the back wall against the wall over and then down over the pipes and wires. And then that's the side that fills in the gap on the shower side. And then these are just to cover everything. So it's a very simplified explanation, but I don't want to make it too complicated. I'm just going to explain more as I build probably. So okay, so I just have it all balancing up right now. This is supposed to be this wall here. So this is basically it. This is 22. This is all 15 inches high. This is 14. This is 18. This is 6, 6, 12, and 10. So this one goes a little bit past so that it meets in there. And that's going to be blocked off with a plate on top, just a little permanent wood lid. That's where the pipe and everything starts to come out. Yeah, and this is the first compartment. It's actually going to be a little bit more in, but it's hard to get everything to just cooperate with gravity and all. And then this is in the back. This sits on top like so. This edge meets that lip that's on the wall from where the old toilet was. So that creates a little box to cover all the wires and pipes and everything. It's a little high, but I didn't want the compartment to be super deep, so that's the reason for that. So it's only going to be about 10-ish inches deep. And then this sits on top of that lip that I was just mentioning, and then it will be level-ish with that, and then the lid will go on there, and that piece there is this side for where the shower is going to be. And this one, at first I didn't think it would need a side, and I'm not 100% sure if it will, because it might be against the wall, but if I'm putting shavings and stuff in there, I think it's going to need a side. So I might have to cut another one of those on my own. I've got plenty of wood, so it shouldn't be a problem. And then that is an offcut that I'm going to use for the lid for this. I'll have to cut it down again as well, but and then that should be the lid. But we'll try and put some of this together, take some more measurements, make sure everything fits. I'm going to cut down that 2x3 first, just to make sure once it all goes in that where I have everything placed that this stuff will fit. So we're going to do that, and then I'll give you an update later. Okay, so we've been piecing things together. We've got the 2x3 in, and we're just making sure all the cuts are right. This is actually 3/4 inch, not 1/2 inch. Even though it was advertised as 1/2 inch, I measured it and I'm like, this seems too thick for 1/2 inch. So this is 1/4 inch, so it's gonna be extremely strong. With that being said, I didn't account for the thickness of the board, so I have to cut that right there to be level with this, so that this board can come all the way across, and then I can face it flat, and then this side won't be sticking out. What else? Oh yeah, also this board here is actually, let me grab this quick. Like, this is for the side here, so I'll just put that there for a second. I'll try and explain this as best as I can. So this back board is about 1/2 inch higher than the rest of everything. The lid is going to be on here, like it's gonna be from here to here. This wall's not in right now, that's the only piece that's missing, so it's gonna go back and it's going to touch this board. It's gonna come all the way across, so it's gonna close that in, and then the lid is gonna be there, right? And then this is going to be from, oh, hang on a second, from here to here across. It's gonna be its own lid, and then I'm gonna have to close this portion of things right there. I'm gonna have to close that off. So that's gonna have to be like a pretty custom cut. But these boards, for some reason, I measured them way higher than I was supposed to. I guess just because all this stuff was in the way and I didn't really realize. So this piece is like so much taller, but that's originally how I wanted the back piece to be. I wanted this to be higher than the rest. And that's why I raised the bottom of this up so high. So it would be like this all the way down. You'd have like a foot of storage back there. And then this one is going to be basically just to the floor. I'll probably end up adding a base to it just so it's not the bare floor there, but I kind of like the height of this, But that means I'd have to make a new rear piece, and then the side I would have to measure from the bottom of this board upward to be level with that. So it would be like about 16 inches, and this one is 18 inches. And I was supposed to cut this to 10 originally. I don't know why it's 18. I think it's because I had said that because I had to get one for the top, or the bottom, sorry. That was 18, and they were both 4 inches wide, so I just said, well, you know what, I'll cut it myself later without remembering. And then I forgot to cut the side piece or something along those lines, so I have to figure that out, just making sure I have all the right pieces. Then I'm going to assemble this thing outside of the RV and then bring it back in. Make sure it all fits. I'm probably going to do it piece by piece. I'll do the rear piece that goes over and up, and then I'll do the compartment, and then I'll put the big piece over that and then attach it all together. But I'm not going to put this in permanently until I have the rest of this finished, because it takes up a lot of working space. So I'm just going to leave it freestanding. I'm going to take it out, paint it, all that stuff. So I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with this and then move from there. Alright guys, so we have somewhat of a finished product. Not quite. There's a couple nails in it, just holding the walls together. There's nothing really at the bottom. But the whole thing, I used construction adhesive on all the joints on the interior, so it's held together pretty well right now. It's really sturdy. Like I said, a couple nails. Dun, dun. So this is going to be the compartment for the material that I use for the composting, and this is going to be for toilet paper and things of that nature, just to store it so it's not wasted space. And this is a plate for that gap that was here. This is permanent. It's currently drying. I just put some adhesive on it. I don't want to nail directly down into the face of this thing. I think it would ruin the look. So, like, the side is one thing. I can put trim on the edges if I so choose to do so, but I don't want to have to do anything on the top. And these butt together perfectly because this was cut as one piece. So I just don't want to push on it right now because, you know, that's drying. So we've got a bit of space on this side. I wanted it to butt directly against this because this is where the lip for the shower is going to end, so I can just seal all of that without it being like a gap. No water will get on the ground or whatever. It'll just stay there and hopefully kind of be a little gradient downward so it doesn't pool. But I just need to figure out a side piece. You know, everyone's got to have a side piece. So it's going to meet here all the way down to here. This will be behind a bit, flush, and then it'll stop right here at this pipe. Hopefully this flashing red light can give you a little idea. It's like at one of these knuckles joints for the pipe. It'll be there, and then it'll come up, and it will be just enough space for the wires, so it's nice and snug. And then this, the idea was for the lip of the shower to come all the way across to this wall, so that it would meet the corner here with the wall that will be here. This has to get cut, but anyway, it's like right along this space here. It'll be right there, and then the lip of the shower would have been there, meeting all of it, and I could have sealed it all extremely well with the actual ply for the wall, the red guard, and the FRP board, and then a ton of caulking. I think it would have done the trick. And I'm still trying to do that, but this hose, man, it's causing me issues. So it would be like that. I could manage. This I could manage. But once it gets to right here, for it to be flat, it's like next to impossible. So we're gonna have to figure something out for that. We'll see what I can come up with, but that was the initial plan, and I think it would have been perfect, so I want to stick to it as best as possible. Doesn't fit in here any other way. Like if I were to leave it in, oh, never mind. Don't you guys just love watching me think out loud and make stupid realizations on camera? Section for that, but I don't have that yet, so this isn't going to be a totally finished project until all of that's sorted out. But essentially it's going to be here. It's like this shape, and then it goes down. I'm going to have it go down and into that through a hose, which will have a, I'll be able to like close it off the hose like a little switch, so that you don't get any gases back into the RV. So if it's like this, you've now lost all that space. You really have to make sure that the cutout for the toilet seat is like the exact size. So it's a lot of thinking to do for one day. I normally don't like thinking this much. I'm just joking. I'm always thinking.